Well, hello there, Paranormal Amino community members, and welcome any viewers who happen to stumble upon this video to the first ever Paranormal Amino Halloween collab. I am your host, Clorox, and today we have 6 stories submitted by our community members at Paranormal Amino. The first 5 are based on real-life experiences, while the last tale is about paranormal fiction story brought to you by our resident horror story creator, unknown writer. Now sit back, feel the chill down to your spine as it watches you from behind, and enjoy the following tales. The writer dragging the coffin.
One night we went to bed and fell asleep. Nothing unusual about that until I woke up because I heard a horse in the backyard. I thought I was still dreaming. I couldn't open my eyes. I ignored the sound and went back to sleep. I woke up a few minutes later again, hearing the neigh of a horse, but this time followed by an evil laughter and the sound of a heavy wooden box being dragged. Or at least that's what it sounded like. This time, I tried waking up my boyfriend. He asked me what I was hearing. I told him, but he went back to sleep. I was wide awake by now. I closed my eyes and turned opposite to the window, where I heard the sounds. I was almost asleep when I heard teeny tiny galloping, as if a tiny horse was approaching. Then I thought to myself, okay, now you're really losing it. That was until I felt my hair being pulled out from my ponytail. Not too harshly, but I could feel a slight pull. It happened 2 or 3 times before it just stopped. In his sleep, my ex said, "Honey, stop pulling my hair. I want to sleep." So I guess they pulled his too. I let a minute pass and opened my eyes. I looked for anything strange, but found nothing. I heard the horse and the rider again. I ran to the window to see if I could get a glimpse of the rider, the horse, or the box. Anything. Right in the middle of the mocking laughter of the rider, I pulled a curtain open. There wasn't anything or anyone in the yard. It was as empty as when we went to bed. The laughter seemed to fade away. I went back to bed and fell asleep again. The next morning, I told him what had happened. After talking to the neighbors, he told me that they thought it was a devil dragging a coffin, and that it meant somebody would die. He was afraid for me, but of course, nothing happened. A few weeks later, an old lady down the block passed away. The neighbors and my boyfriend had talked to believe that it was a death the writer had previously announced. Not me. I guess it could be. It was pretty strange that I was the only one in the house who heard the writer, despite my ex's brother sleeping in a room next to ours. Then again, the lady was old, but in good health, so what could that mean?
The Man with Magical Hands.
When I was little, I was very sick. The doctors didn't know what was wrong with me. And one day, my mom's friend said to go to the magic man near our town to heal me. I wasn't breathing properly, and I had a hint of blue color in my skin the day we went. This was my mom's last option to get me healthy again. When we arrived, we were greeted by men who were dressed in white. They sent us into a smaller house, not the main house. The room was filled with candles. They put me on a table and touched my stomach and back. They told me that the muscle right under my lung were very tense. When they closed their eyes, and then they were done. On our way back home, we stopped at a gas station to fill up the tank. and I jumped out of the car and I started to run. My mom said I was getting back color in my face too. Since then, she says I've been interested in paranormal stuff.
Yabuku and I.
Ever since I was a child, I had this figure following me around. It never hurt me or spoke a word, but it was always near me, like a constant shadow that clung to me. I know I should have been afraid, but rather I felt a strange sense of comfort knowing it was there. I knew he wasn't an ordinary friend though. He used to scream in agony whenever I went near a church. I started to avoid them because I feared I'd lose my friend if I went near them. At first I didn't know what it looked like because it distorted its appearance. But as years went by, its features became clearer. He looked like a young man around 20 years old. He was handsome, and still is. As I got older, he made his presence more known to me, and eventually began to speak. He told me that he had been following me since birth, but there was no reason to be afraid. I asked for his name, but he didn't have a name, so I called him Yabuku. Yabuku has been with me for years, always looking after me. It was only recently I learned he was a demon. I used to think he was my imaginary friend, but I was wrong. He's an odd demon, but I wouldn't change anything about him. He can be a deceptive one, always trying to hide his raven-colored wings, sharpened fangs, and crimson eyes. It's as though he's afraid I'll try to get rid of him if he doesn't look normal. Who wants normality though? It's boring. To this day I avoid churches. I can't bear to hear his cries of pain. People say I should get rid of him, but I won't. I can't get rid of him. We are connected now. We always been together.
The Park Roaches.
I was around 5 years old. My mother, father, young sister and I lived out in the trailer in the country. My sister and I shared a room and we were both asleep. My mother came in and woke us up in the middle of the night. She told us that she had a horrible feeling, so she told us to fix a bed on hers in my father's room. So we did, and my sister fell right to sleep. And I thought my mother was. Suddenly, I hear the front door open, and it was locked, mind you, so I hear what sounded like 10 to 15 kids running down our hallway and into the bathroom, which was connected to my parents' room. So they stayed in the bathroom, giggling this horrible sound. Then the adjoining door to the hallway in my parents' room opened, and something stood there in the doorway. It was about 3 feet tall. It wore like a shroud-looking thing, and it scared the hell out of me. The only thing I can compare it to was a gargoyle-looking beast. It was Hydras, and it began to giggle this horrible sound, and it stood there looking at me. I was frozen, scared to death. Then it shut the door and joined the other ones. They were in there for a few hours, then suddenly they took off back into the living room and out the door. It was terrifying.
The Watcher and the Craving.
It was about 2 or 3 years ago, and it was around 2 or 3 in the morning. So I woke up pretty suddenly, and I wake up and look up and see a figure staring at me. So of course, me being so young, I hid under the blanket. But the only thing is, I know it wasn't me or anything around me because the light was on. Plus, it wasn't either of my parents because of the physique of the figure. So the day after that happened, I wake up, go to the shower, and I look at my chest and there's a symbol carved into it. So of course I start to panic and I don't know what that symbol means. So I do some research with a friend of mine and we figure out that it means power or anger. Of course that freaks me out. So after that, my life never was the same for so many reasons.
And now for our last tale, a fictional story by a known writer titled When the Mind Goes Blank.
Here I was, back in my sister's house again. As much as I hated coming back for her help, I couldn't do anything about it. She greeted me with a silent hi and a loose hug. I went up to my old room, looked around, and saw that everything was where I left it. One little detail was different though. On the nightstand, beside my bed, stood this strange small dog figurine. I picked it up to see that its eyes were red, and I yelled down to my sister, "Diane, whose is this?" Waiting on her response, I put it back down. I then started to unpack my clothes. Seconds later, my sister came up and into my room.
"What was it that you needed?"
she asked. "I'm just wondering whose figurine is that, because it ain't mine," I replied.
Mom gave it to me before she died,"
she answered. Okay, that's all I needed, thanks," I replied. She left my room and I kept unpacking while thinking, why that figurine is in my room if my mom gave it to my sister? When I was finished unpacking, I decided to take a short nap, so I laid on my bed looking at the ceiling. I decided to observe the dog figurine until my eyes closed shut. Suddenly, loud clanks of pots and pans coming from the kitchen woke me up. I sat up and looked around for the dog figurine, but I couldn't find it. I didn't bother looking for it anymore, and headed down to the kitchen and saw my sister making dinner. I plopped down on a chair and waited on her while checking my phone. "So if that figurine is yours, why is it in my room, sis?" I asked her.
"Why do you even care? Can't it be there?"
"Geez, alright, I was just making conversation. After all, we haven't talked since Mom died." "But forget it," I said. I went back to check my phone when suddenly noises of running footsteps came from above us, and we got startled. My sister turned to me and put her index finger against her lips and told me to be quiet. "What the hell was that, Diane?" I asked her in confusion.
"Shut the hell up. I think someone is trying to rob us, so shh," she
whispered as she covered my mouth. I did as she said and I proceeded to call 911. She decided to pick up a kitchen knife and headed upstairs without me. "What the fuck are you doing? Are you an idiot?" I whispered. She ignored me and kept walking up the stairs. I was conflicted about going after her or not. While trying to decide, I hear a loud shriek and then a loud thud. Scared shitless, I went upstairs quietly and looked around the halls to see no one. I noticed the light from my room was on. Slowly, without making any noise, I made my way into my room and saw drops of blood all over the floor, leading to my nightstand. "Diane, where the hell are you? Diane, sis, Diane," I whispered repeatedly. While looking for her in my room, I felt someone behind me. I quickly turned around to see my sister and her right hand rushing to cover my mouth. I was freaked out when I saw her face and hands covered in cuts and blood. I saw something even more stranger, her eyes. Her pupils were all red, and the rest of her eyes were a lighter shade of red. As I stared at her, she looked around for some place to hide me. Still confused at what was happening, I decided to speak up. "Diane, are you okay? You're I said as my vision started to fade out as I tried to talk to my sister. Diane, what's happening to me?" I stuttered. Last thing I could see was my sister freaking out, feeling her cold hard slaps against my cheek in attempts to keep me awake, but it was hopeless. Next thing I know, I'm waking up on my bed. Everything seemed normal, like way too normal, after what I just experienced.
When I sat up on my bed, wanting to yawn, I couldn't. I noticed I couldn't open my lips at all, and I freaked out. I ran down to look for my sister again, but she was nowhere to be found. While looking for her around the house, something caught my eye. I saw another figurine standing in a black robe in the middle of the living room, facing away from me. I decided to back away from it slowly so it wouldn't catch me near it. While I was trying to get away from it, I heard every light bulb in the house shudder and spark up, and everything went dark. A pair of eye-shaped red lights looked at me from across the hall from where the strange figurine was standing. I remember my sister's red eyes and slowly approached it, thinking it was her. As I got closer, I realized I made a mistake. The eyes started to blend into the face of a skull. Paralyzed with fear, I felt someone grab my hand and snatch me away from the mysterious black character and up to my room again. Shocked at what I saw, I was a bit relieved when I saw that my sister was the one that brought me up here. She was closing the door and blocking it with my dresser. She then turned to me as I was kneeling on the floor. I looked at her and saw that everything was the same as the last time I saw her. Her eyes, the cuts, her hands, the blood. Except for her lips, they were stitched shut. She proceeded to sit in front of me and started to write on a piece of paper which read,
"We have to sleep in order for this nightmare to end. Do you understand?"
As baffled as I was, I nodded yes. Then she wrote,
"Please, you have to try and sleep. Otherwise, neither of us are getting out of here.
A loud bang hit the door, and she kept writing faster.
Out of here. Soon this place will go blank, and if we aren't asleep, we will never wake up."
So she pushed me over to my bed and put a blanket over me. But it was impossible to sleep when loud bangs kept hitting my door. I uncovered my face and looked around my room and saw that some parts of the walls had patches of just complete whiteness with no end. Then the dog feet Rayne caught my eye, and I concentrated on it, blocking out all other noise. A few minutes passed and everything went completely silent. Suddenly, sunlight shined through my window, hitting my face, waking me up from that terrible nightmare. What a crazy nightmare that was, I said. Calling out to my sister, wondering if she was awake yet, I headed to her room. When I got there, she wasn't in bed, so I checked downstairs and saw my sister laying on the floor of the living room. Wide open, bloodshot eyes, looking at nothing. I tried to wake her up, but she wouldn't. She didn't make it out.
That's all for this year's collab, but stay tuned to this channel, my Paranormal Amino members, for in December there will be another collab. This one be all fiction stories submitted by you, the community members. If you have any stories you want to submit for that, email us at the email address down below. Well, that's all for now. And if you happen to wake up tonight, make sure you don't look at her. Take care.